What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am talking about the debut offering from Wicked Leather, Season of the Witch. This also came out on January 30th, this time on Lost Realm Records, and like I said, this is a debut album, and yeah, this is interesting to talk about a brand new band that just got out there not too long ago. So, for those who may not know, this is a Spanish heavy metal band, like classic heavy metal out of Spain. And, well, I got interested in checking this out, considering I think it was through an email I got, but also discovering their front woman, I forget her name off the top of my head. Not only is she a gorgeous, like classic metal mistress looking type, but she also has a band called Wicked Leather, and I saw they had an album coming out this weekend. I thought, you know what, I'll give it a shot and see what I think musically. And, well, pretty much from top to bottom, this feels like a straight up 80s classic heavy metal album. Like, down to the production, the songwriting, everything about it just screams early to mid 80s. Like, it's so retro sounding. It feels like I'm in a time machine and I went back to a time where I wasn't even conceived yet. But so enough kind of gushing about that aspect. Let's check out the music. So the opening track, which is the title track, for once, it's not an intro. It's actually a full song. And right out of the rip, you get a sense of the guitar tone and the production. Definitely, like I said, has that 80s tone, 80s vibe. And dare I say, there are spots on this track, but also on this album, where it almost goes thrash metal, but it's not really thrash metal. It's just like thrashy classic heavy metal. Kind of like, say, as an example, the song Iron Maiden by Iron Maiden. Like, it's that kind of vibe. Like, the rhythms are thrashy, but not really like in the riffs. It's still very much classic heavy metal riffs. And that's pretty much how we get started here. It's just an overall fun track with some really cool classic metal harmonies. And I will say the vocals, like, it took me a minute to kind of get used to the vocals because I'm not going to lie. At the beginning, I thought she sounded a little bit like Vince Neil, but thankfully, it isn't Vince Neil. She's just going for her own style that I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of like an old school new wave of British heavy metal kind of feel to the vocals. It's also got a little bit of like a punk rock sensibility to it, but she does a solid job vocally. Like, I don't mind the vocals on here. It took me a moment to get used to them, but I grew to enjoy them. But as we keep going on throughout the album, it's like basically you're just getting everything about classic heavy metal. Great harmonies, like especially on track 2, She Is the Storm. The harmonies here feel very Judas Priest-esque. Like, I'm talking Hellbent for Leather, Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith, like those albums in particular is really where I get a sense of where these harmonies are going. But you also get, like, a lot of Iron Maiden riffs on there, like the Paul Di'Anno and early Bruce Dickinson era Iron Maiden going on in terms of the riff writing. And then the track Crystal Lake, like, this is kinda where it almost reaches into thrash metal territory with the riff, but because you got this really cool melody on top, it sort of turns into more of like an Angel Witch song, like the first Angel Witch album, where it's like got almost thrashy rhythms, but still very much, again, classic heavy metal riffage. But I actually really love the melody at the very end of the song. It's soaring, and it leads perfectly into Night Hunter, which, for the most part, it remains more of a mid-tempo song, like a Judas Priest song. It's more of a rocker. You even get some clean melodies, but it does slow down. I don't know if I would necessarily call it to, like, doom metal territory, but it's just slower, like a slower classic heavy metal, and then it speeds up to, like, a big gallop, which, speaking of gallops, Black Goat Rising, Midnight Creature, back to back, those songs are very much like Iron Maiden gallop-centric. Harmonies galore, and even a shredding lead. Like, lead work-wise, this is just classic heavy metal guitar solos and harmonies and melodies, which is awesome. But with Black Goat Rising, that was one of the more energetic songs of the second half, whereas with Midnight Creature, still kind of felt like it had more of a rockin' vibe to it. Lightning Strike, again, like the harmonies are more soaring, but it's definitely got more of a rockin' vibe. There's some like really cool downstroke riffs to kind of add a little bit of an extra crunch. But then the closer, Masquerade of Shadows, builds really nicely with the drums and the guitars, almost like we're about to fight in the jungle or whatever. And it's a more slower song at first, then it builds up to mid tempo, then it goes to up tempo, and after the leads and like a guitar bass melody, it definitely does get into thrash metal territory. Like the riff changes to feel more like early 80s thrash metal. So that's pretty much how we end this. So it's just going for a fun vibe of old school heavy metal, very akin to Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Angel Witch, like that Nawabum era, with touches of early speed metal and thrash metal, but it's still very much classic metal. As far as any negatives go, I mean, it does feel derivative, but it's not in a bad way. But I will say there are moments on here where it definitely sounds like they were teetering on that line of being inspired by something and then flat out copying it. It just sometimes rubs that line ever so slightly to be like, oh, look at you. We're going to use this. We're going to take elements from this riff, but make it into something of our own. Like just playing around with everything, which again, nothing wrong with that. Bands take inspiration from bands of the past to forge something of their own in some unique way. So overall, I'm gonna go with a 3.5 out of 5. I thought this was a really good album, all things considered. I definitely see a lot of potential with this band if they put out another album relatively soon, like next year or 2 years from now. It would be really cool to hear what this band has in store next. So if you're a fan of pretty much like the new wave of British heavy metal with touches of speed metal and thrash metal, check this out. This is some fun classic heavy metal. But of course, those are just my opinions. But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, thank you for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.